This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet in the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos and bullshit. I've been thinking a bit about this idea of being and doing, particularly in this moment. I mean, I feel like ever since 2020, when we had that global pandemic, that was one of the more overt ways our planet was attempting to support humans in understanding that an out of balance way of moving it was just not going to work. I mean, I'm sure Earth and the universe has offered many different glimpses into this understanding, but for me on my path, I instinctively knew, or I should say intuitively sensed that moment when globally things sort of shut down and slowed down, the way in which my being experienced that, I knew it was a very clear message. And then ever since then, it's been this really amazing roller coaster ride of opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to explore how am I imagining balance. And so particularly now, I think we're moving back into eclipse season, and we've had really poignant, impactful retrogrades, planets sort of moving back to offer us opportunities yet again to unlearn. So for me, in terms of what I believe the journey that my soul wanted to take in this lifetime was a lot about this idea of being and doing, and what does it mean to be in, not only in balance of, like, to be in a balanced state, but the beat when I'm doing that, in doing, it's inspired action. And that inspired action is led by my moments of being, my moments of going inward, of intuitively going deep within myself, slowing down, being curious, asking questions, right? And following a flow, not necessarily thinking there's a destination to that inward gaze, but that it's just a journey. And I think I might have forgot to mention that. So for folks who are not understanding what I'm saying about when I say being and doing, think yin and yang. So yin is the aspect of being. It is what one could also call the feminine aspect. And so this is not gender. I say this all the time, but it bears to be said again and again. This is not about misconceptions, manipulation, harm, lies taught by the patriarchy about notions of the feminine and the masculine. I'm talking about the energetic properties of these. So the yin is the aspect of being. It is about flow. It's spiral. It's understanding the spiral nature of things. It's going inward, slowing down, breath, following the flow of the tides. Whereas the aspect of doing is the yang, it's the masculine aspect. That's when we take action, when we create a plan that's often linear, that's very logical, comes from the mind, and we set out, right? And so there's nothing wrong with the masculine. It's when it is out of balance and when it attempts to lead that it becomes problematic. And for me, I've been learning all of the unlearning that I have to do, having been born in an out of balance construct, right? A society that is leeching itself globally into the world of toxic masculinity, of only focusing on this idea of doing. And even, the difficulty of when we want to come in balance, it's really hard when so much of what is rewarded, which those rewards can lead to, one's survival on one end and thriving on the other end, are based in out of balance doing. So to come back what I was saying before, I'm learning that to look for the balanced state. What does it mean to have my aspect of being be the lead when I step into my aspect of doing? And that there is a relationship between the two, that one is not being leaned into more than the other, though I believe for me, there is a deeper leaning into my heart. One, I just think that's how I'm made, but I also think given the world, since we're so out of balance and so leaning into toxic masculinity, that in order for that pendulum to fully shift into the middle, I think it does have to shift a little bit off kilter and more toward being, in order to bring it to a middle keel. One, because like I said, there's so much toxic masculinity in the world, but I also, from my experience, whether this is true or not for everyone, I feel outnumbered. I feel like there's a lot of folks who know the words of love and speaking from the heart, moving from the heart, being from the heart. And at the same time, how does one actually get there if one is not unlearning the aspects of a construct that's been powering over us for millennia? Right? And I just did a broom closet conversation about this fear of looking inward. If I hold a fear of looking inward, I absolutely can't develop my yin. Because that's what the yin is. It is the aspect of being. It is going in and learning that all the answers I'm looking for are there. And doing it in the face of overwhelming punishment for doing so. And yet, it's really interesting because I'm seeing that even in the face of not being received, I feel better. I feel more whole. I feel the happiest I've ever felt. And it's interesting, right? There was a time where I was making more money. I had more friends per se. I was in a larger community. And yet I was doing all these stuff to have that in a way of doing. And in the hopes that in that doing, I would be validated, that I would be liked. And yes, it was easier to pay rent and buy food and take trips. Yep, totally was. And it always felt empty if I really stepped into it. Even when I had really good times with the people I was traveling with or hanging out with, there was still something always missing. And the more I move into this yin side to bring my yang side into balance, right? Not ignoring, because inspired action is necessary to move what I learn in the being into actual reality. But the more I learn to balance those out, that hole that I felt is lessened and lessened and lessened. And at the same time, it's within a society that it feels like my experience doesn't really care. They're not interested in that. It's too hippie, too esoteric, too touchy-feely, too feminine. And yet in these times, I have no desire to offer anything else, to be anything else, to do anything else. And sometimes I don't know what to do with that, because that comes with great uncertainty. So I offer this, that although I know that I'm outnumbered, I'm not alone. And hopefully, if you too are thinking about these things of being and doing, know that there's at least one other soul out here who gets it. This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet. The energy here stays here. The energy there stays there. I'll sense you later. Return when moved to do so. Same Bruja time, same Bruja channel.